Despite what's going on in the housing market nationally and all of the clickbait heavy headlines, I'm going to tell you the real story about what's happening here on the ground in the Reno-Sparks housing market, and it's not what you think, so don't go anywhere. Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sarah Schultz. I am a realtor in the Northern Nevada housing market serving Reno-Sparks, Carson City, and all of the surrounding areas. And on today's video, as I do each and every month, I'm going to be giving you a data deep dive, going through all of the important KPIs that paint the full picture of what's happening in our housing market. A quick disclaimer, these metrics are based on single family residences only, so they do not include data for condos, townhouses, vacant land, commercial listings, none of that. This is all single family homes. If you want specific data about those property types, you can shoot me a comment below or book a free call with me. There's a link to do that in the description box below. Also, this data is for all of Washoe County. Be advised that there are some other counties in our market, but this will at least give you a general idea and more local knowledge of what's happening. As I did mention, our local market is behaving differently than the national market. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I always talk about this, about how special the housing market in Reno is and how unique it is, just simply because of, well, many factors. One of which is that we are in a huge period of economic expansion and growth as a whole. We are a developing market as far as the industries that are here. I'm talking mostly about healthcare, tech, and manufacturing. Those are three huge industries in our market. The growth that is happening in those industries in our market specifically is very unique and very expansive. So that is driving our housing market, and I'm going to show you the data points, but make sure you stay until the end because the end is the most important part. That's where I give advice to both buyers and sellers, so you're not going to want to miss out on that piece of this video. Let's start with the median sales price. Now, despite what the media is saying, and despite what's happening nationally, and also in similar markets, similar cities to ours, our median sales price actually increased month over month, which may come as a surprise to you. It wasn't a huge jump, but it did go up by 2.9% month over month and 1.9% year over year. Now, if you've been watching the news, you probably have been hearing that the market is crashing and it's a strong buyer's market. And I will say that buyers here, even here with prices going up, buyers do have more leverage now and more choices than they have. But I'm going to get into all of that, so stay with me. This next piece of data is important, and that is number of closed sales, which did go down by 1.9% month over month and 0.7% year over year. Now, a downturn in market activity in general is very normal this time of year. Obviously, we're shifting from summer into the fall when we start thinking about holidays and family and all the things, traveling and all the things that, you know, kind of deter us and distract us from real estate. Well, unless you're me, I always think about real estate. But that's another point. So that's not unusual. That said, less market activity overall will have an impact on the other data points, but stay with me. I'm going to keep rolling through these so I can get to the juicy goods at the end. This next KPI is going to be more good news for sellers. Just like the median sales price increasing, this is another piece of good news if you have a home to sell, and that is median days to contract. If you don't watch my videos every month or you don't know what this metric means, I'm going to break it down for you. Basically, this is the number of days that it takes from a listing to go live to an offer being accepted. So as a seller, you want this to be the lowest number possible. If you are a buyer, the bigger this number is, the more leverage you have. And so this number is landing in favor of sellers, coming in at 35 days to contract. If you have a luxury listing, you know, this is probably going to take significantly longer. Or if you have a niche listing, like a condo with a high HOA or something in a specific neighborhood that would appeal to a specific demographic, or if your listing is conversely in the entry level price tag for our market, that's probably going to happen a little bit faster because those tend to move on a quicker pace. That said, 35 days to contract is a whopping 12.5% decrease month over month from the closeout of last month. And I have to say, typically we see the summer market kind of booms here, and the last two summers, this year and last year, have been very painfully slow. I track all my data and metrics because I'm nerdy like that, but I was looking at my personal sales for last year and this year, and both years I had a huge spike in my own production in spring, and then summer kind of trailed off. And then last year around this time, I had another spike. So it seems to be picking up. I personally seem to be much busier now than I was for the whole summer, but that is just a personal experience. But that said, median days to contract did go down significantly month over month. However, year over year, they went up by nearly 21%. So that's something interesting about the pace of the market right now versus a year ago. Up next, we're going to talk about percent of list price received. If you watch these videos each and every month, I always say, and I'm going to say it again, that this number changes the least. Again, this is true this month as well. Percent of list price received. So that is, if a seller lists a property at a certain price, what percentage of that price are they actually selling that property at? That number landed at 98.5%. Not much of a change there, really not much to talk about. I should maybe even start omitting this KPI from these videos because it literally hardly ever changes. And this is dependent on how properties are listed. If the market's going up or down or hot or cold, listing agents, in theory, I certainly am, are advising their clients to list their homes at a price that matches that, right? So I don't know why we even track this, but I'm going to keep going. Let's talk about median sold price per square foot. Now, median, not average, important distinction to make there. And this number actually also went up, just like the median sales price. And that's not always true. The two don't always match each other. They usually do, but not always, especially since we are looking at median and not average. This number increased by a modest 0.5%. And important to note, this is the sold price per square foot. So not the asking price, but what the listing actually sold for. An increase of 0.5% month over month, but 10.4% lower year over year. All right, I'm going to keep going. Active inventory. Now, because of the time of year that it is, being that it's fall, shifting into holiday season, we are not going to be surprised that this number is going down, right? That's normal. Typically, a lot of sellers who have the luxury, who don't really need to sell, a lot of them start thinking about, well, maybe I'll pull this off the market until we get over the holiday hump. I think it's a little early for that personally. And actually, I have a few listings coming to market right now just because of seller necessity, and that is a thing. But typically, we start seeing the people who have the luxury to wait, a lot of them do, or a lot of them who have the listing on the market, they'll pull it from, Thanksgiving through mid-January, and that's not uncommon. But this number did go down. The decrease was 8.1% month over month and 4.8% down year over year. So I think there's been a lot in the headlines and those clickbait media traps that I keep talking about how there's so much more inventory and it's a buyer's market and prices are plummeting, and that's just not the case. However, even though we're 4.8% lower than we were a year ago, I would say that overall, if you zoom out 5 years time from the COVID frenzy, we still have a lot more inventory on the market for buyers to choose from than we did at that point. And it still feels like buyers have a lot of choices. And to give you an example, around that time, 2021, 2022, buyers would, want to go out and look at homes, and there would be maybe 5 in their price range to show them, and the competition was fierce to even get into any one of those 5 homes. Now, just to give you an example, I have buyers shopping in sort of an entry-level price range right now, and they want to see 12 homes on Tuesday. 12! And that's not even all of the inventory that's available in their price range. So that should just give you an idea of how it feels on the ground. Feels like even though prices are going up, days on market is going down, we are still seeing that buyers do have a little bit more flexibility with the timeline. And so if you are thinking about buying, it is good news for you. I have one more KPI for you, and then I will be getting into my advice for both buyers and sellers. So stay with me. The next and last KPI that I have for you is months supply of inventory. If you aren't aware, this metric tells you if no new inventory were to come online, this is the amount of time it would take to absorb the current inventory that is available on the market. That number landed at 2.4 months. That is a 6.3% decrease month over month and a 4.2% decrease year over year. So that kind of matches the active inventory metrics, right? Like there's less inventory than there was a month ago or a year ago at this time. Again, typical for this time of year. All right. Let me get into the juicy goods. As promised, we're going to talk about advice for buyers and sellers. And unless you are buying your first house or selling your last house, you're usually both of those at the same time. And so no matter what's happening in the market, it's imperative to have a solid strategy in place so that you can hopefully win or get the best results on both sides of the transaction. Overall, the inventory is up and the days on market is down. So if you've been waiting for this alleged market crash, it's not happening here in our market. The reality here is that demand is holding out very strong, and every home under 600K, unless there's something really wrong with it, is selling pretty quickly. And even then, I'm seeing a lot of flippers and investors snatch those up. So anything under the median sales price on the ground we are seeing is moving just as fast as it has been. There's nothing new there. Those homes are still very much in demand, especially with a buyer affordability still being a major challenge. Homes on the lower end of the market tend to move quicker. That's just a fact. So getting pre-approved / having your financing in order as a buyer so that you are ready to write an offer when the right home comes along is still super important. You're going to want to make sure you have your financing ducks in a row. That said, even though inventory's down, days on market's down, month supply of inventory, all of those things have come down, there's still a lot of inventory to choose from, and 35 days to contract is still a healthy amount of time. So if you're shopping online, which all of you are at this point in history, you can actually look for how long a listing's been sitting, and you're going to want to evaluate that, because if it's getting close to that 35-day mark, you may know, okay, it's go time. This house is probably going to get snatched up really soon. If it's a home that you're seriously in love with or, strongly in like with, you should probably make your move while you still can. Also, if you're starting to see a home that's been sitting for longer than that, and again, I'm talking about your standard single family residence, not condos or anything with like a high HOA. Those kind of have their own timeline and pace. But if you're seeing that it's been sitting for longer than 35 days, that is a good indication that the seller may be getting antsy, seller may be feeling like they're ready to make a deal. That might be a good time to shoot your shot and maybe, I wouldn't say like insult them or lowball them to all hell, but make an offer that feels like a good deal. Let's move over to the seller side. I have advice for you as well. With fewer listings and solid demand and prices going up, you're actually in a really great position right now, even though the media is jamming it down your throat that the sky is falling. It's not, especially not here in our local market. Homes that are well marketed, marketing is absolutely everything all the time, and move-in ready, and also priced strategically, are still commanding top dollar in our market. If you've been thinking about selling, now could actually be a really great time, especially if your home is ready or close to being ready to list. If you can get it on the market in the next week, I know that seems sudden, but if you can, I think you still might get the tail end of this like fall rush before the market takes a little nap for the holidays. And actually, I have to say, I always think the market is on this pattern, but like with rates and everything that's going on in our whole economy, it's really hard to predict. It's always hard to predict, but right now, I would say that nothing is a cut and dry pattern, because who knows, maybe we're going to have a really busy holiday season. It's really hard to predict, but it does feel like the energy in the market, at least on the ground, is ramping up. I've got more buyers coming to me and more listings coming to me than I had for the entire summer, which is odd, although that's how it did work a year ago. So maybe we're on a different pattern, or maybe just because of what's going on economically, we're seeing just more market activity, even though by the data, the activity did go down month over month, but it was slight. And I will bet that when we look at this month in arrears, if you didn't know, all this data is published in arrears. So this is actually a summary of what happened for the month of October. The same will be true when I do my market update for December. It's going to be November's data in arrears. I'm willing to bet that we're going to see market activity has actually increased, but we'll have to see. We do have the Thanksgiving holiday. Kids are out of school. Time just starts to stand still, right? That whole like cloud between Thanksgiving and Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate just kind of feels like time stands still, but we'll have to take a look. That said, inventory does typically increase in spring. So now could be a really good strategic time for you to list while inventory has come down month over month. So we'll have to see. Again, my best advice for sellers now and always and forevermore is marketing is the most important thing that you can consider when listing your home. From the get go, you want to make sure it shows well. So either making cosmetic repairs or staging, if you have the means, can make a world of difference. But also making sure your photos and media are on point, because a lot of buyers, I mean, almost all buyers are starting their search on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, etc. They're getting their first impression of your home from the photos and the media. And if that isn't done well or done right from the beginning, it's really easy for them to move on, because even though inventory is down, I mean, it's still so much more than they had in previous years. And so there are a lot more places for people to be looking. So make sure that your media kit is right. Make sure you align yourself with an agent who is going to not just throw your listing on the MLS and throw a sign in your yard. That does not cut it. It's not enough. You need somebody who's actively going to be making effort each and every week to get your home in front of the right buyer, because all it takes is one. But just a run of the mill listing on MLS isn't going to cut it. If you found this helpful, it would mean the world to me if you would like and subscribe to my channel, because it tells the algorithm that other buyers and sellers like you should be watching my content. It helps me, it helps them, and it helps me keep creating content for you guys. So please do that. And if you have any questions at all about the Reno market, the lifestyle here, relocation, that's my bread and butter and my niche focus in this market, please don't be shy. You can book a free call with me. There's a link to do that in the description below. It's no obligation, just a chance to connect, see if we might be a good fit to work together, and at the very least, help you strategize your next and best steps. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next week.